Thank you so much for watching Riff TV. Now, this interview is obviously with video, but I don't interview everybody on Zoom. That's why I put it on my Talkin' Rock with Meltdown podcast. We talk to rock artists from all over the genre. So check out Talkin' Rock with Meltdown wherever you get your podcasts. And now to today's video interview. Lzzy, by the way, I like that screenshot before you hopped on. That's
Oh, thank you. That was one of my I was feeling myself. It's funny how I always forget to change stuff up, especially as time goes by, and then all of a sudden those photos will pop up. I'm like, oh God, that was from so long ago.
You're sexy, I have to say. Very nice.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
No,
they give me too much creative freedom. I remember going to that shoot and I'm like, I don't want any shirts, just jackets. And they're like, yeah, sure. I'm like, really? Nobody said a word? Nobody's saying anything? Okay, cool.
Yeah, no shirts and jacket on, not jacket.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyways, you guys are coming to Southeast Michigan playing Arts Beats Needs this coming Saturday. We'll talk more about that. By the way, Collective Soul is opening up for you guys. Have you seen them before?
Oh yeah, they're awesome. And they're such sweet dudes. We've done some shows with them before. To be completely honest, I believe, and I could be getting this wrong. I need to ask them this because the last time we had kind of similar. We had like a fair gig with them, and I forgot to ask them. I believe that we opened up for them at the Croc Rock in Allentown, Pennsylvania, in I want to say 99, 2000 or something like that. You know, they were on a kind of a club circuit, and one of the club owner, it was one of those things where he would call us up hey, I got a national band coming in, would you open up, kind of thing. So I have to ask them whether that's specific or not, but yeah, they're really sweet and obviously legendary in their own right. So it's crazy playing gigs with those people,
Yeah, I was just talking to somebody, being a kid that grew up in the sticks outside of Western New York. Sometimes I'm amazed. For example, tomorrow on my schedule, I got to talk to Alice Cooper. It's well, how cool is that?
Oh, yeah.
I've interviewed Alice a bunch of times, but still the 14-year-old kid in me is wow, this is crazy. And you're just talking about opening up for Collective Soul. Now they're opening up for you all these years later.
It's really nuts. Yeah, no, I feel you with the Alice Cooper thing. Cause I've interviewed him as well. We've also gone out on tour with him, and he is the nicest dude. He's definitely the nicest guy in rock, has the best stories.
Yeah.
Last time we talked, he was telling me about his encounter with Meatloaf years and years ago. And he's like, we were at some show or whatever, and Meatloaf showed up. And so we start talking, Meatloaf, how you doing? And Meatloaf, I guess, told Alice Cooper he was going to open up a restaurant. And so Alice gets excited because he loves those little ideas. And he's like, dude, that's amazing. You could have Meatloaf sandwiches, whatever. And then I guess Meatloaf looked at Alice perplexed. He's like, no, it's going to be like a chicken shack. And so Alice is like, why would you do that? Your name is Meatloaf. So and just little things like that. It's he's a good dude, but also still intimidating because it's you can't just turn off those things, I remember I same experience with literally everybody that I've ever met or had the ability to talk to. And I use talking loosely because I still get starstruck with certain people, but it's yeah, you can't necessarily turn that little kid thing off. It's I try, I'm I've done some things in my life. I'm my leather jacket on, here we go. And then you're it's how's the weather?
No, it's true because it's we didn't, we didn't grow up in families that are raised for example, Slash. He was always around celebrities and stuff. That's probably not big, right? But to me, I was just, my dad went to work 40 hours a week and came home in our little small house, and here I am. 3 years into my career. I've interviewed all my heroes, got to meet all sorts of great people. And it's just sometimes it's whoa. And I can imagine it's probably the same thing with you guys, coming from mid-state Pennsylvania. And now here we are.
Yeah, it's really crazy. I was just talking to my dad about that because my dad was a third shift mechanic. My mom, stay-at-home mom, and we grew up on a farm. That our house was built in 1848 kind of thing. It's owned by an Amish couple in PA before we got a hold of it. And it's I didn't save up to go to my first concert and get tickets until I was 17. I had to work kind of a weird waitressy job in order to save up for that. But it's it's really nuts how then all of a sudden you find yourself either performing with people that you're influenced by, or just having a conversation with them, or talking, or having them even know who you are is really nuts. You know, it's like, wait, you know who I am? That's so weird.
Well, I have to ask you, since you grew up in a house from the 1840s, did you ever run across any ghosts?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. Well, that the house was just, it was so drafty. We had one, like, there was like, do you remember those like floor electric heaters? You know, like this, like a strip, like in like,
Yeah,
I
baseball.
don't know, whatever. In certain spots of the house, there would be that. But other than that, it was like an old fashioned coal heater that was just like in the center of the house. And my brother and I would get into fights every morning before the school bus showed up because it was so cold during the winter that like either like we're just like brushing our teeth like next to the coal heater, like that kind of stuff. And it's like, yeah, it definitely goes, especially in the barn. I feel like there have been many weird. I don't know why. It's so funny you bring that up because I don't know why we were never like, like super like believers in ghosts and stuff growing up. But now that my brother and I are older and we like start talking about certain things, like little like presence things, or like, we'd be, baling hay or something, and then something would move, or like little, like just little things like that. There's like, now it kind of gives me the creeps, but I don't know. We were just like living in it, but
I had an
yeah.
experience far from you in Gettysburg where we were on a,
Oh yeah.
and it was like it's kind of a crazy story. But what the one comedian always says: whenever there's a lull in the conversation, just ask if anyone's seen a ghost. So I just thought I'd ask you if you saw a ghost. Not that.
I love it.
So what's going on with you guys? What's happening with the in the Hailstorm camp?
Oh my goodness. Complete chaos. I am one half of myself is devoted to, I'm basically culling my bank of ideas that I've collected for the past 2 years. Um, and we're trying to figure out how to make a record out of that. So we're literally spending the next, starting on the 4th, like from the 4th till the 22nd, we're locking ourselves in a house together and literally just trying to come up with ideas and write together and just have that experience. Um, and so like that's chaos in its own right. Also, we're trying to find time to rehearse for this next coming show. you know, it's like because it's weird. It's like we all go home because like it's weird being an adult now because like my brother has a girlfriend and my bass player has a wife and 2 kids and like I feel like sometimes like I'm the only one that's still like a teenager and trying to figure out how to like move everything forward. But the thing is that like we need to have some type of rehearsal before this next show because it's like it all gets lost. Everyone goes to their different thing. It's like, okay. And so like, we're on like a group text thing. It's like, okay, when can you do it? Okay, that you have like weird swim lessons with your kids. Okay, what about this? Whereas it used to be we were all like just in my parents' basement, like
Right.
having a 5-day sleepover, just writing. So it's interesting now. But also then the other half of me is adulting in some ways because I'm getting some things done to the kitchen, like my stove stopped working and all this stuff. So I have people coming over this week to like renovate. So I got to like clear things out. So it's a little of both. I'm like part wifey in the kitchen and part like rock star. I want to like write some crazy shit. So yeah, it's right.
So what's your writing process like in the band? Do you guys do the same thing all the time? Will you bring a bunch of ideas to them and vice versa? They bring a bunch of ideas. You guys start from nothing, or how's it work?
It's a little different every time. I think it's just because of, and I've been trying to analyze this. I think it's just because with every tour and every album cycle, and sometimes it just takes a couple weeks. You feel like you're almost a different person. Like you kind of like you evolve a little bit with your experiences, and time moves a little faster. So a lot of times, we'll just kind of show up with our ideas, and like Joe will have a bunch of riffs and stuff, and actually it's funny, my little brother has become quite the prolific songwriter in the past couple of years. He's really been kind of like holding on to that, and so he's been a lot of help. He's sent me some drum tracks lately. He's like, just write anything to this, it's fine. He like wrote a song in his head but on the drums. Like, yeah, why not? So there are many ways to skin the cat. So sometimes, yeah.
I was gonna say, do you have anything in your head right now that you're like, this is gold right here? I can't wait for the guys to hear it.
Yes. I always have a handful of those. And then there's always the handful of songs underneath that I think are dumb. Like I write a lot of dumb shit that I don't think is good. And there are certain moments where, you know, there will ultimately be a fight about like, well, just show us, you know, whatever. And then there'll always be like one of those dumb songs that the guys are like, no, we have to do this one. For instance, on the album Vicious, Do Not Disturb should have never been on the record. I had written that for myself in a kind of club dance way. One of these days I'll show you the original version. I have like a Moog synthesizer. It was very much like just something funny for me. I'm like, I don't know, like I had a threesome, let's write about it. Nobody's going to want to hear about that. Also, it's weird and not necessarily relatable to everybody. And so I just kind of kept it in the bank. And I made the mistake of showing it to Josh, our bass player. And the next day in the studio, he's like, check it out. I did your Moog synthesizer line on my bass. Check it out. I'm like, that's cool. And he's like, no, we should totally try to record it. And I'm like, nobody's going to want to hear that. He's like, I want to hear it. I want to play this bass line. Okay. So we got into like, it's like, fine, let's record it, whatever. And then everybody wanted it as a single. So there's a lot of weird stuff like that. And then for the rest of it, there's a lot of like half things done. Like, here's a chorus. Here's something that I really like the verse, but I don't think the chorus makes it. Or sometimes it'll start with, you know, one of Joe's riffs. He writes a lot of instrumental stuff that I'll write to a lot. Our song Uncomfortable was a lot like that, where it's like, hey, I just wrote this thing, I don't know what it is, and I just kind of took it in the studio and wrote melody and lyrics to it. So there's many ways to skin that cat. What we are in right now is the you know, the chaos of it all, whereas like not quite sure where the music is going to take us or what we're going to be excited about, but I'm excited about doing something new. And really just kind of accentuating certain moments, you know, and especially considering, you know, we've been touring on this album cycle, we've been touring on Back from the Dead, and our live show has grown a lot during this album cycle, whereas we're making these kind of physical moments, and we've been writing parts for like in between songs and all of that. So I feel like I kind of want to incorporate some of those things that we've already kind of tested live that are original parts, but don't actually have a song to go to yet. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. So we're doing that, you know, and among all the other things, I got a couple of collaborations as always that I got to catch up on.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
So,
but first of all, I got to say, you know, people obviously did not want to hear a song about Lzzy Hale and a threesome. So that didn't
yeah,
work.
absolutely. Yeah, that totally. I do have to say that when that came out as a single and I was thrust into interviews about it, I had said to myself, well, I'm going to be brutally honest about it because I'm the one who put it out there in the world. So I can't be like, no, let's not talk about it.
Right.
But what I didn't realize was that, and you're an exception because you don't mind talking about literally anything, but there are some people, you know, especially in other countries and other cultures, that you could tell they really didn't want to talk about it because it made their face go red. But their boss had said, like, well, you should ask about the single.
Right.
So that was kind of adorable for me. I'm like, oh yeah, we'll talk about it. What do you want to know? And he's like, well, I mean, where was it? Like that whole thing. It was adorable. So like, I don't know, it worked. But.
I have interviewed people before. I actually interviewed a singer, which will remain nameless, and I asked him about their current song, which was kind of controversial. It's like, I don't really want to talk about that. It's like, well, you wrote it, dude. I mean, come on now.
You wrote it and you put it out there in the world. I don't know. Be prepared to talk about it.
Exactly. That's exactly right. But
yeah. And you know what? And who cares? Like that's the beauty of it all, is that you kind of, as if you are creating something from nothing and then decide to show a ton of people it, people are going to have questions, and you should just be unapologetic about it. Be like, this is what I did. I don't know, you know?
Yeah, and we all lived vicariously through you in that song.
Well, that's good. See, that's all I was hoping to accomplish with that song.
All right, let me see.
Everybody just have a good time.
Yeah, let me check off my do not disturb conversation. Okay, so yeah, you were just talking about collaborations. A lot of people, when I posted I was talking to you, they wanted to ask you about your collaborations. Of course, the Avatar one I really love. That record, by the way, is so killer.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, and a lot of people want to know about this Ashly McBryde collaboration.
So that was kind of on a whim. We recorded the song, and then from kind of early inception, I was like, this would be really nice as a duet, but I'd like to do it with another female. But as is Halestorm tradition, instead of staying in our lane, we have a nice running list of people that are kind enough to, like, if I say, hey, let's do this, they're like, yes, when you want to do it, which is beautiful, and wonderful. At the same time, we kind of wanted to blur the lines a little bit and step a little bit outside of our box. So Ashly McBryde kind of got brought up. I'm like, oh dude, like, we have like mutual friends, like, let's reach out, you know? And it was like within 10 minutes, we're like, hey, so we have this track. I don't know what you're doing at the moment, but like, would you love to be on it? You know? And it was like 10 minutes. It was a full on fuck yes. Let me know when. I'm doing it now. And she literally went in like within the next 2 days and ended up doing it. And what a badass, like a complete, I mean, like, she's, absolute country star, but she's kind of like, here in Nashville, she's kind of like the rocker chick. So she likes to dip her toe in our dark arts. And so the first time, so we had hung out the first time, we ended up, doing some scenes for the video. She's like, I got a question for you. And this was during all of the Taylor Swift madness that was happening in Nashville at the time, because she was doing the arena shows. And so we were doing the video. She's like, I got a question. Who would you fight in the back of a Chili's parking lot? And at the time, I had done some nefarious deeds. And so I was like, and I was a little hungover as well. And so I'm like, well, I kind of want to punch myself in the face right now. She's like, that's valid. I want to do that every day as well. But right now, the traffic, it took me like 40 minutes to get here because of Taylor Swift. So right now I would punch Taylor Swift. I'm like, we probably shouldn't be saying that out loud. She's listening somewhere. She's in town. But she's like, no, I just had that conversation, every day. It's like, you got to take your earrings off. You like fight in the back of a Chili's parking lot. I'm like, all right. Would you fight me in the back of a Chili's? She's like, anytime. You tell me when and what Chili's, I'll be there. Anyway, she's kind of a pistol, and I like it. I ended up making her a leather jacket that says Ashly fucking McBryde on it, just as a thank you for it. And she's just a sweetheart. She's awesome, and her voice is amazing. She really, I feel like she I don't know, she exceeded my expectations for how this could have gone as a duet, because it's, it's a little bit of a linear song. It's a little bit of a darker subject. Dare I say, more adult for most of the things that we like to talk about. And so she just kind of took the reins, and I loved it so much. And our voices worked really well together, which, could go one way or the other. So I'm really proud of it.
Could there be any collaborations on the upcoming album?
Absolutely. We've actually literally just been talking about that, because we've never really done that on an album release. I don't know why. We always kind of do things like kind of on an offshoot, keeping the album pure. But at the same time, we have so many talented, amazing people that we are surrounded by, and there are still some people on my bucket list that I'd love to collaborate with. And it's funny with the Daughtry thing. I don't know whether you want to talk about that, but with the Daughtry collaboration, that had been in the works since like 2010. Like, we had been like, every year, like, we're gonna do something this year. Every year we're gonna do something. And then he finally cold called me and he's like, hey, we're recording Journeys separate ways, but we want to do it as duet. Do you want to do it? So I'm like, yeah, send me the track. And he's like, no, I'm in the studio like right now. I'm in Nashville. Let's go. I'm like, okay, cool. So I went down for an hour and we did it. And, and he's just so amazing. His voice is so great. So it's one of those things. I'd like to return the favor for him as well and have him on something of mine.
Well, it's funny you bring up my friend Chris Daughtry because he texted me. He says, here's a question for Lzzy. Are you ready?
Oh, that's awesome.
If you were abducted by aliens and you had the rare opportunity to introduce said aliens to rock and roll, you can only play one song. What song would it be and why? That's from Daughtry.
Artificial by Daughtry. Something that they can relate
That's the right answer, by the way.
That's awesome. Oh my God, that's such a crazy question. And now that we have kind of like impending aliens, isn't it weird how nobody gives a crap about it? It's like yeah,
right.
I grew up on Independence Day. Okay. That was a monumental film. We're all waiting for this. And everyone's like, oh, aliens, fine. And who cares?
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's kind of just
let me scroll through Instagram. It doesn't matter.
All right. So your one song for Daughtry, what would you pick?
Oh my God. We'll definitely throw that in the mix because I feel like maybe they could relate to that. I would say one rock song. Let's do oh man, for aliens though, like what is how about Stand Up and Shout by Dio? Because then that's like no connotation, there's no talk of war, everyone's just joyous. Maybe it can be like a little peace thing.
All
maybe
right.
maybe they're like, oh, we know what this means. What?
Hey, so you're in Nashville, and you just talked about Ashly McBryde and all these people that you meet out there in Nashville. So you're in that room right there. What famous people have played on that piano behind you?
Oh, my goodness. Let's see. The last one of man, oh my God. The last time that I had Tom Kiefer over here for, I think it was 4th of July, and he was playing on my piano, but a lot of people have played this. Let's see, who would I want to play on the piano? I mean, really anybody. I did not, a really weird thing. This is not anybody famous, but I did not realize that my tour manager, who also runs our sound, can play piano. And I've known the guy since like 2011. And the last time he was staying at our house, all of a sudden I'm just like, oh, wow. Like Joe has gotten really good. And then I come down and it's Michael Mahar, our tour manager, playing the piano. I'm like, oh, buddy, I didn't know you had like a hidden talent. But I think the last like famous person is probably Tom Kiefer playing on here.
What about any famous person? Who's played on it?
Let's see. Who did I have last? Oh my God, I can't even think of it. I can't even think of his name. Oh my God.
I stumped her.
Yeah, you totally stumped me. Yeah, I think it was the last time I talked.
You're going to think about 12 people.
I'm going to think of like 12 people. What the hell? Now I can't think of anybody. Well,
here's like the thing. Here's the thing. You're getting older now, and you're starting to lose your memory. Like you're going to be 40. Yeah. Any big plans for?
I know. See, my parents warned me about this. Yeah. That's what it is. Oh my God, it's funny. Yeah, it's coming up in October. I'm going to be 40. I was thinking about this morning. I was thinking that my English teacher in middle school was like about to be 40. And I remember thinking, wow, that's such a long way off.
Yeah.
And then here we are. Yeah. But I feel like I've treated my 30s the way that I would have treated like my 20s if I had been a normal 20-year-old. So I'm looking forward to my new 30s and my 40s is what I keep trying to say. Who am I thinking about? I can see his face. Oh, it was Rex from Pantera was the last person. Yeah. Okay. So this is kind of funny. I love Rex. He is a super sweet human. He came over to our house and he had a buddy with him that didn't really do anything. He just had a buddy that was kind of there to like get him home or something. And he was hanging out and he took down, we had like kind of behind me, we had a bass guitar and we ended up going in our basement. My brother was here and Joe was here. And then Cesar, one of the heads of the CEO of Gibson, came over. We all had like this jam session, just like in the key of A. Let's go. And then he came up and he says to me, he's like, you know, I don't drink anymore, but I have like one beer a year. Do you have any Coors Light? And I'm like, yeah, I have good Coors Light. So Coors Light, and he put his Coors Light right behind me on the piano, and then he's like, do you got any Jaeger? So in whatever state he was just kind of playing some, I don't even know, I think it was just like an original, we're just gonna go and do the thing, but it was actually really beautiful. So
no,
the guy's very talented. Of all the people, that's so funny.
I was at Kid Rock's house one time. I don't know how close he is to you, but him and Seth Green were playing his own player piano.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it played by itself, and of course Seth Green had to pretend like he was playing it. And
pretend like, yeah, it's like what you just put a quarter in.
yeah. And Rock was actually playing it, and Seth was pretending to move the papers and everything like that. So
that's awesome. I love that.
I was actually going to come down there this weekend, but I just couldn't find the time. But Guns N' Roses played with Carrie Underwood. You were just talking about that. Did you go to that show?
I know I didn't end up going to the show. I had the opportunity to go, and then things got crazy around here. Yeah, I heard it rained and stuff like that too. So
who knows? Really? Oh, okay.
Yeah. You might have avoided the weather.
Yeah.
But I had a lot of friends that went, and they said it was amazing anyway. So.
Well, I'll tell you what, Lzzy, I've taken up enough of your time. Hopefully there won't be a hailstorm this weekend like we were talking about before we get on. But Art Speeds needs.
I guess I'll stop doing my rain dance. You know?
Right, exactly. If you're anywhere in the Southeast Michigan area, that's happening Saturday in downtown Royal Oak. It's a great time. There's going to be, I don't know, my guess is 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 that they get in that area right there. It's so much fun, and it's a really cool event and a collective soul opening up and stuff. So good luck with the writing, and good luck with your 40th.
Thank you.
We'll see you before then, I suppose. So.
Oh yeah. It's all good. Thank you so much. And dude, I love you so much. I'm always so delighted when we have these and get to catch up. So
nice of you to say. Thank you so much. Of course, the feeling is absolutely mutual.
Oh, I appreciate it. Even with my nefarious ways of writing about threesomes. So I'm glad we covered that.
That adds a little bit to it, but thank you so much.